The bustling restaurant was alive with the chatter of patrons and the clatter of cutlery, yet amidst the usual hum, an undercurrent of tension began to rise. A young waitress moved quickly between tables, balancing trays of food with practiced grace, her German shepherd puppy trotting faithfully at her side. The pup, barely a year old, was small but vigilant, alert to every sound and motion in the room. The waitress smiled at a nearby table, unaware that the storm was about to hit. A pair of affluent diners had set their eyes on her, not with admiration but with entitlement and malice. Without warning, the couple advanced, their eyes narrowed, lips pressed tight in irritation over a minor complaint that should have been resolved calmly. The young woman instinctively moved to shield her puppy, holding it close as they began to shove at her. The German shepherd whined, bristling in protective instinct, but the couple's arrogance was unmatched. They kicked at the puppy, sending it tumbling across the floor, yelps echoing through the restaurant. Patrons froze, forks paused midair, watching in stunned silence as the scene escalated from minor irritation to outright aggression. The waitress's heart pounded as she crouched instinctively over her small companion, her hands wrapped protectively around the trembling puppy. She called out, pleading with the couple to stop, but the rich diners seemed deaf to reason, their entitlement fueling a reckless disregard for the innocent creature and its owner. A nearby family turned to watch, horror etched on their faces, while others whispered to each other, unsure whether to intervene or stay back. The air was thick with tension, every heartbeat amplifying the urgency of the moment. Across the room, near the entrance, a tall figure observed quietly, taking in every detail. A Navy SEAL had entered the restaurant moments before, grabbing a coffee and scanning the surroundings with the practiced awareness of someone trained to detect threats. His eyes instantly noted the aggressive stance of the couple, the vulnerable posture of the waitress, and the small German shepherd trying to shield itself from the violence. Without a word, he shifted toward the action, each step deliberate, his presence projecting a calm but undeniable authority. At his side, a massive German shepherd mirrored his movements, muscles coiled and eyes sharp, ready to respond to any escalation. The couple, unaware of the SEAL's approach, continued their assault, shoving at the waitress and kicking at the small dog in a reckless display of privilege. The SEAL's eyes narrowed, cataloging each movement, each potential point of danger, and every possible outcome. The larger German shepherd mirrored his focus, coiling like a spring, a silent extension of his protective authority. The presence of the SEAL shifted the energy of the room almost imperceptibly but unmistakably, creating an invisible barrier that communicated aggression would not go unanswered. The waitress, sensing a new presence, looked up, her eyes meeting the calm, unwavering gaze of the SEAL. Relief flickered briefly across her features, though fear still gripped her heart. She instinctively moved closer to the small puppy, shielding it with her body. The SEAL, noticing her subtle movement, adjusted his stance, closing the distance and positioning himself between the couple and the woman, creating a protective perimeter without raising his voice or drawing attention to himself. The German shepherd at his side mirrored his every adjustment, radiating controlled power, ready to act at a moment's notice. The couple's aggression faltered for a split second, the SEAL's calm but commanding presence challenging their assumptions. They had relied on entitlement and intimidation, but here was a force they neither understood nor expected, disciplined, precise, and morally grounded. The SEAL's voice, low and unwavering, cut through the charged air. "Step back, now." The words alone carried weight, halting the couple mid-motion. The small German shepherd whimpered softly, finding reassurance in the disciplined posture of the larger dog beside it. Patrons leaned forward in stunned silence, witnessing the delicate but decisive shift in power. The scales had begun to tip. The SEAL's eyes scanned the room with rapid precision, noting the couple's posture, every micro-expression, and the subtle shifts in their stance. His mind ran through countless scenarios in a fraction of a second, the safest way to neutralize the threat while keeping the waitress and her puppy completely protected. The German shepherd mirrored his focus, muscles coiled, ears twitching, eyes locked on the potential aggressors. Every step, every slight adjustment of his body communicated authority and control without the need for aggression. The rich couple, momentarily frozen by the SEAL's calm yet commanding presence, tried to mask their hesitation with forced bravado. The man took a half step forward, fists tightening slightly, believing they could continue their intimidation. But the SEAL's unwavering gaze and subtle positioning left no doubt. Any further aggression would be met instantly. The low, restrained growl of the German shepherd reinforced the invisible boundary, amplifying the unspoken warning. Every instinct screamed to the couple that their entitlement and force held no power here. The waitress pressed herself closer to the small German shepherd puppy, wrapping her arms protectively around it. Its soft whines and trembling mirrored her fear, yet the coiled presence of the SEAL and his dog radiated a tangible sense of security. Patrons, wide-eyed and holding their breath, realized that what had begun as a chaotic scene of entitlement and violence was being meticulously controlled. The seal moved subtly, positioning himself between the aggressors and the woman, every motion deliberate, every adjustment reinforcing the protective perimeter. The seal's voice cut through the tension, calm, firm, and unmistakably authoritative. "Step back, this ends now." The couple froze, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. Their earlier confidence, born of wealth and arrogance, faltered under the weight of calm authority and disciplined presence. The German shepherd's low growl punctuated the command, an audible reminder that the situation was being watched by a force neither predictable nor negotiable. The small puppy leaned slightly against the larger dog, reassured, sensing that the immediate danger was being managed by an unmatched protector. Neighbors and patrons in the restaurant whispered among themselves, captivated by the quiet dominance unfolding. The seal's approach was precise, controlled, and efficient, a masterclass in tactical intervention without violence. Every micro-movement was calculated, every stance adjusted to maintain safety and authority. The couple shifted uneasily, now fully aware that their aggressive tactics had failed against disciplined skill and moral authority. The waitress, feeling the protective barrier strengthen with each subtle adjustment, allowed herself a small sigh of relief, though the tension still lingered. The seal's eyes flicked between the woman, her puppy, and the aggressors, assessing the risk of each potential movement. The German shepherd mirrored his subtle shifts, muscles coiled like springs, ready to act instantly. The couple's bravado began to crumble entirely. They realized that their aggression, previously unchecked and unchecked by consequences, had collided with a force of experience, strategy, and moral clarity far beyond their understanding. The tension in the restaurant thickened, but it was now tempered by control and authority rather than chaos. Finally, the seal allowed a subtle adjustment, slightly repositioning the woman and her puppy toward a clearer path to the exit, maintaining the protective barrier while keeping the couple at a safe distance. Patrons leaned forward, witnessing a delicate but decisive reversal of power. The couple's entitlement and aggression had been neutralized not by force, but by the quiet, precise application of tactical skill and moral authority. The small German shepherd wagged its tail slightly, sensing relief and safety within the disciplined presence of its larger protector. The seal's presence dominated the room now, yet he moved with calculated calm, every step deliberate, every adjustment precise. He positioned himself between the couple and the waitress, creating an invisible shield that communicated protection and authority without a single aggressive act. The German shepherd mirrored every subtle movement, coiled and alert, radiating silent power. Its gaze never left the couple, warning them that any attempt to escalate would be met instantly with disciplined force. The small puppy, previously kicked and frightened, stayed close to the larger dog, finding comfort in its steady presence. The couple's confidence was completely shattered. Their aggressive posturing, once fueled by arrogance and entitlement, faltered under the weight of the seal's calm authority. The man shifted uneasily, attempting to gauge the limits of this new, unexpected power, but every glance from the seal and the German shepherd left no room for miscalculation. The woman hesitated as well, her expression wavering between disbelief and fear, the earlier sense of control slipping entirely. Each second stretched as the psychological weight of the seal's presence settled over the aggressors. The seal's voice, low, calm, and commanding, cut through the tension. "You've done enough, step back now." There was no shouting, no threat, yet the words carried undeniable authority. The German shepherd growled softly, restrained but unmistakably clear, reinforcing the boundary. The couple froze, realizing their prior tactics, intimidation, aggression, and entitlement, had been rendered completely powerless. Patrons, wide-eyed, leaned forward to witness the unfolding masterclass of tactical authority, noting how calm presence and precise action neutralized aggression more effectively than force ever could. The waitress, still shielding her small puppy, sensed a glimmer of safety. The seal subtly adjusted his position, ensuring she remained fully protected while allowing a small path toward the exit. The German shepherd mirrored the motion, coiled yet controlled, reinforcing the protective barrier. The couple shifted uncomfortably, each micro-movement catalogued by the seal as he anticipated possible escalation points. Their hesitation deepened with every passing second. The realization of their vulnerability became increasingly evident. Patrons whispered among themselves, captivated by the precision and strategy on display. The seal's control of the situation was nearly imperceptible in its subtlety, yet absolute in effect. The couple's aggression had been dismantled not through force, but through careful observation, calculated positioning, and unwavering moral authority. Every glance, every micro-movement communicated dominance and readiness, leaving the aggressors with no option but reluctant compliance. The small puppy, sensing the shift, pressed close to the larger dog, comforted by its protective presence. Seal adjusted his stance slightly, subtly guiding the woman and her puppy toward the exit while maintaining an impenetrable barrier. The German Shepherd mirrored each movement, ensuring the protective shield remained intact. The couple's expressions shifted from arrogance to disbelief, their earlier entitlement completely stripped away by the quiet, controlled power before them. The tension in the room, once chaotic and threatening, had been transformed into a charged but controlled atmosphere of authority and safety. Finally, the seal allowed a subtle nod toward the exit, signaling the woman to move. She hesitated for only a moment before following, her small puppy held protectively. The German Shepherd remained coiled, vigilant yet composed, a living extension of the seal's authority. Patrons leaned back slightly, exhaling collectively, impressed by the calm yet absolute resolution of the confrontation. The couple, fully subdued, made no attempt to resist, understanding viscerally that their aggression had no power in the face of experience, strategy, and moral authority. The room's energy had shifted completely. The seal maintained his calculated stance, a living shield between the aggressors and the waitress. Each micro-movement of his body was deliberate, a subtle adjustment that reinforced the protective barrier while allowing the small puppy to find safety in his shadow. The German Shepherd mirrored every action, muscles coiled, eyes sharp, projecting a silent warning to the rich couple. Any attempt to escalate would be met instantly and decisively. The small dog pressed closer to the larger K9, finding comfort and reassurance in the disciplined presence beside it. The couple, now fully aware of the authority before them, shifted uneasily. Their arrogance and entitlement, which had fueled the earlier aggression, had completely evaporated. They attempted to step forward only to hesitate, their movements restrained by the silent but undeniable control emanating from the seal and his dog. The waitress instinctively pressed herself closer to the small puppy, shielding it as best she could while drawing courage from the protective presence surrounding her. Every second stretched taut, filled with anticipation, yet under the seal's control, the threat of violence had been contained. The seal's voice, calm yet commanding, broke the tense silence. "This stops now, step back." The words carried a weight beyond authority, they radiated moral clarity and absolute consequence. The German Shepherd growled low and restrained, reinforcing the boundary with a warning that required no further escalation. The couple's faces reflected shock and disbelief. They had relied on intimidation and entitlement, but here was a force that neither could manipulate nor overpower. Patrons in the restaurant leaned forward, captivated by the demonstration of controlled power, precision, and protection. The seal subtly shifted, guiding the waitress and her puppy toward a clearer path to safety while keeping the aggressors at a safe distance. Every micro-movement was precise, calculated to protect and assert authority without unnecessary confrontation. The small dog, sensing the shift, moved slightly closer to the larger K9, reassured by its unwavering presence. The waitress allowed herself a tentative exhale, recognizing the protective barrier surrounding her. The tension in her body slowly began to ease, replaced by cautious relief. The couple's hesitation deepened as they realized the futility of further aggression. Their entitlement and prior arrogance were now powerless against calm authority and tactical precision. The seal's subtle stance adjustments reinforced the perimeter, his gaze never leaving the aggressors, cataloging each possible movement and ensuring the woman's safety at every step. The German Shepherd mirrored each adjustment, muscles coiled yet controlled, a perfect extension of the seal's authority. Patrons watched in awe, witnessing the complete reversal of power in the room. Finally, the seal allowed the woman a subtle nod, signaling that the immediate path to safety was clear. She moved cautiously, holding her puppy close, following the guided steps of her protector. The couple, now subdued and fully aware of their position, made no further attempt to advance, their arrogance replaced by hesitation and recognition of the consequences of defiance. The small puppy whimpered softly, comforted by the German Shepherd's presence, sensing the safety that had finally begun to permeate the room. As the woman reached a safer corner of the restaurant, the seal maintained a vigilant stance, ensuring no further threat could emerge. Patrons exhaled quietly, witnessing a masterful demonstration of protective authority and tactical control. What had begun as a chaotic and aggressive confrontation had been transformed into a lesson in restraint, moral clarity, and disciplined intervention. The waitress allowed herself a small, grateful smile, the first genuine expression of relief since the ordeal began, while the small puppy nestled closer to its larger protector, finally feeling secure. The room, once filled with fear and chaos, had been transformed into a tense but controlled space. The seal's presence, steady and unwavering, radiated authority that left no room for further aggression. Every micro-movement he made reinforced the protective barrier around the waitress and her puppy. The German Shepherd mirrored each subtle adjustment, muscles coiled, eyes locked on the couple, projecting silent but unmistakable warning. Any further escalation would be met with immediate action. The small dog, still trembling slightly from the earlier attack, pressed closer to the larger canine, reassured by the calm dominance surrounding it. The couple's expressions had shifted completely. Their earlier arrogance and entitlement, which had fueled their aggression, had been replaced by shock and unease. The man's fists dropped slowly to his sides, his chest rising and falling unevenly as he realized the futility of further intimidation. The woman's eyes widened, recognition dawning that their actions had no power against the disciplined authority standing before them. Patrons in the restaurant leaned forward, whispering among themselves, captivated by the transformation of the dynamic. What had been a violent confrontation was now a controlled display of tactical precision and moral authority. The SEAL's voice, calm but commanding, sliced through the charged silence. "You've done enough, step back now." The words were firm yet measured, leaving no room for negotiation or defiance. The German shepherd growled low, restrained but potent, reinforcing the barrier with a quiet authority that left the couple with no choice but to comply. The small puppy whimpered softly, sensing the shift in energy, drawing reassurance from the disciplined presence of the larger canine and the unwavering protective stance of the SEAL. The waitress, still shielding her puppy, allowed herself a cautious exhale. Relief slowly began to seep into her body, mingling with the lingering tension. The SEAL subtly repositioned himself, guiding her and the puppy toward a safer part of the restaurant while maintaining an unbroken line of protection. Every movement, every glance, and every subtle adjustment reinforced control over the situation, ensuring the aggressors could not interfere further. Patrons observed silently, understanding they were witnessing a demonstration of disciplined authority, strategic awareness, and moral clarity. The couple's hesitation deepened with each step. Their attempts at aggression had been neutralized not by violence, but by experience, skill, and presence of mind. Every glance from the SEAL, every subtle coiling of the German shepherd's muscles, communicated the futility of defiance. The patrons, captivated by the scene, whispered in awe, witnessing a masterful display of tactical intervention that had neutralized the threat while protecting the vulnerable. The small puppy, sensing the relative safety, nestled closer to the larger canine, comforted by its watchful presence. Finally, the SEAL guided the waitress toward the exit, ensuring the path remained clear and the couple remained at a safe distance. Each movement was precise, deliberate, and protective, leaving no room for error. The German shepherd mirrored each motion, reinforcing the protective barrier with every step. Patrons exhaled collectively, witnessing the controlled de-escalation, the transformation from chaos to safety. The couple, fully subdued and aware of the authority they faced, made no attempt to challenge the situation further. The waitress, now within a safe perimeter, allowed herself a small, genuine smile, relief washing over her. Her puppy, still trembling slightly, wagged its tail cautiously, reassured by the larger canine and the protective presence of the SEAL. The restaurant, once a stage for fear and aggression, now radiated safety, order, and moral authority. Patrons lingered in silent awe, aware they had witnessed a rare and powerful lesson in discipline, tactical skill, and protective courage. The SEAL maintained his vigilant stance, every muscle poised yet controlled, every movement calculated to keep the waitress and her puppy safe. The German shepherd at his side mirrored him perfectly, coiled and alert, eyes fixed on the now subdued couple. The small puppy, trembling slightly from earlier fear, stayed close to its larger counterpart, reassured by the protective presence. The restaurant, once filled with chaos and aggression, now felt a tense calm, as though every heartbeat was measured and every breath deliberate under the watchful eyes of the SEAL and his dog. The couple shifted uneasily, fully aware that their previous confidence and entitlement had been stripped away. Each attempt to advance or assert dominance was met by the unyielding presence of the SEAL and the silent, cold power of the German shepherd. The man's fists dropped completely, his posture slumping as the weight of realization settled on him. The woman's eyes reflected a dawning comprehension. The aggressive tactics they had relied upon were now powerless against skill, experience, and calm authority. Patrons leaned forward, riveted by the dramatic shift in control, noting how the balance of power had decisively changed without a single act of unnecessary force. The SEAL's voice broke the tense silence, calm but firm. "Step back, you've done enough, leave them alone." The words carried absolute authority, reinforced by the German shepherd's low, restrained growl. The couple froze, no longer able to resist or deny the dominance before them. Their aggression had been dismantled, replaced with hesitation, shame, and full recognition of the consequences they faced. The small puppy whimpered softly, seeking reassurance from the larger canine, which remained coiled yet calm, radiating protective energy. Seal subtly repositioned the waitress and her puppy toward a safer area, maintaining an impenetrable barrier between them and the aggressors. Every micro-movement was precise, every glance calculated to anticipate any potential threat. The German Shepherd mirrored him flawlessly, reinforcing the protective shield with muscles coiled and eyes sharp. Patrons watched silently, awestruck by the seamless control, the precise intervention, and the moral authority that had neutralized the situation so completely. The couple, fully subdued, made no further movements, understanding that defiance was no longer an option. Finally, the seal guided the woman closer to the exit, ensuring a safe path while keeping the couple contained at a distance. The German Shepherd followed each subtle adjustment, muscles coiled, ever vigilant, signaling to the aggressors that any attempt to breach the perimeter would be met instantly. The small puppy, reassured by the protective presence, pressed against the larger dog, its trembling slowly easing. Patrons exhaled, quietly acknowledging the mastery on display, a display of tactical skill, discipline, and moral authority that left the aggressors powerless. The waitress allowed herself a small, cautious smile, relief beginning to wash over her body. Her puppy wagged its tail slightly, sensing the end of immediate danger. The seal remained alert for a moment longer, eyes scanning the room to ensure the couple posed no further threat. The restaurant, once dominated by fear and chaos, now radiated calm, safety, and moral clarity. Patrons leaned back, exchanging whispers of awe and admiration, aware they had witnessed a rare and precise intervention that had protected the vulnerable without unnecessary force. Sunlight spilled through the restaurant windows, soft and forgiving after the storm of aggression that had filled the room. The elderly waitress, still trembling slightly from the ordeal, now sat fully within the protective shadow of the Navy SEAL. Her small German Shepherd puppy, once kicked and frightened, nestled close to the massive K9 beside the SEAL, finally feeling the safety and reassurance it had been denied moments ago. The larger dog remained vigilant, muscles coiled, eyes scanning the subdued couple and the room, ready to act if needed, yet calm enough to signal that immediate danger had passed. The rich couple, their earlier arrogance and entitlement stripped away, stood frozen. The reality of their actions pressed down on them, leaving no room for excuse or defiance. They had relied on intimidation and privilege, but here was a force of skill, discipline, and moral authority they could neither manipulate nor overpower. Each glance from the SEAL and his German Shepherd reminded them of the futility of aggression, leaving their shoulders slumped and faces pale with comprehension. Patrons watched in awe, unable to look away, witnessing a masterclass in protective intervention and psychological dominance. The waitress allowed herself a slow, tentative exhale, relief creeping into her muscles. She glanced down at her small puppy, then at the larger German Shepherd, and finally at the SEAL. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling yet sincere. The SEAL acknowledged her silently, a subtle nod that conveyed reassurance and professionalism. The German Shepherd nudged the small dog gently, a wordless testament to the protective presence that had restored safety and dignity. Patrons, still captivated, exchanged whispers of admiration, recognizing the extraordinary precision and control displayed in the restaurant. The SEAL subtly guided the woman and her puppy toward the exit, every step deliberate, ensuring the path remained clear while keeping the couple at a safe distance. The German Shepherd mirrored each movement seamlessly, reinforcing the protective barrier with coiled strength and sharp focus. The small dog, now calmer, trotted alongside, comforted by the steady presence of its larger counterpart. Patrons leaned back slightly, exhaling collectively, witnessing the complete resolution of a dangerous confrontation without a single unnecessary act of violence. Finally, at the threshold of the door, the SEAL paused, casting a measured glance at the subdued couple. No words were needed, the boundary was clear, the lesson learned. The German Shepherd remained vigilant for a moment longer, then relaxed slightly, signaling that the immediate threat had passed. The waitress allowed herself a full, genuine smile, relief and gratitude flooding through her body. Her puppy wagged its tail joyfully, sensing the end of the ordeal. The restaurant, once a stage for chaos and fear, now radiated calm, safety, and moral clarity. As the SEAL and his German Shepherd turned and walked away down the quiet street, the patrons remained inside, reflecting on the extraordinary events they had just witnessed. The couple, humbled and subdued, could only watch as the forces that had protected the vulnerable disappeared from view. The waitress, now fully within a safe perimeter, sank slightly into her chair, her heart steadying, her spirit lighter, knowing that skill, courage, and moral authority had shielded her and her puppy from harm. The small dog barked once, joyful and relieved, the sound echoing the end of a terrifying ordeal. The SEAL and his German Shepherd faded into the distance, leaving behind a quiet lesson etched into the minds of all who had watched. True strength is measured not in aggression, entitlement, or intimidation, but in the ability to protect, intervene, and restore justice with precision, discipline, and unwavering moral clarity. and on that one-stance restaurant floor, life slowly returned to its rhythm, forever touched by the presence of those who had acted decisively to shield the innocent from harm.